Hello everyone, Michelle Oberdorf, astrologer. Today I'll be talking about David Cameron's chart, the UK Prime Minister, with all the Panama paper tax evasion scandal going on. I thought I'd just have a little bit of a look at some features of his natal chart and a couple of transits that are happening as well to see how they affect his chart. Okay, so he was born on the 9th of October 1966. in London, UK, at about 6 AM British summer time. So he's a Libra. The first thing I noticed when I did a balance of elements that there's not a lot in Earth. There's a couple of generational planets in the Earth sign Virgo, but that's common to a lot of people. So when people lack an element, they'll repress, deny, project it onto others. We might attract people that are very earthy, or we compensate for that element in some way. So Earth is all about our material comforts, money, everyone likes money, being grounded, practical, realistic, stable, oriented towards routines, schedules and plans. So he might compensate for that by being very earthy in himself, and he does have a couple of things in his chart that does help offset that lack of earth element as well. Okay, so when I looked at an overall pattern of his chart, he's actually got most of the planets on the left hand side, so on what we call the eastern hemisphere. So people with most of their planets on this side can be very self-directed and self-motivated in their own lives, where people who have most of their planets over here, often their lives are tied up with those of other people. So basically he can do his own thing. But we do have Saturn, which is a very earthy planet, sitting over here as a singleton in the Western Hemisphere. So this forms also a bucket, and Saturn being the handle of the bucket. So all the energies of this side of the chart get funneled through that handle, and it's very important. This Saturn is a standout in the chart. It's the only planet in one hemisphere, it's retrograde, and it's also in a mutable sign, and there's not a lot in mutable, only again these couple of generational planets which are common to others. This is a social planet. Okay, so what does this mean? So he could be very ambitious, very Saturnian, leadership. There might have been lots of rules around his home. It rules his fourth house. I know his dad was in the army, so lots of rules and regulations, authority, taking on lots of responsibility, commitment, very traditional. He's the leader of the Conservative Party. Conventional, quite rigid, and having lots of boundaries around him. So all this energy very much funneled into this planet, standout planet in the chart. And it's in the 6th house, which is a work house of day-to-day work routines. And it's also retrograde, so any planet that is retrograde in the chart, that will be an internalising influence. So he will take on lots of responsibility for himself and probably also for others. And seeing it's in the sign of Pisces, he might sacrifice the self for the greater good and have lots of compassion for other people. And he also might have a need for religion or some sort of spiritual life, and that would give him some sort of structure, that Saturnian structure. And he's also got this tie up here, this really neat conjunction with Chiron, and Chiron's the wounded healer. So maybe there was some sort of wounding around this Saturnian influence. Maybe he felt like he didn't quite measure up to Dad, or there was some coolness in the environment that he grew up in, and it could have affected his sense of worth and value. There could have been a death of God at some time in his life. He lost his faith. He might have felt like an outsider, marginalised, the maverick, ostracised, and in relation to authority figures and the father. So this is a strong theme in his chart. Another strong theme is this strong Libra. So his sun is in the sign of Libra, and his ascendant is in the sign of Libra. So we have his ruling planet is Venus, and his chart ruler is Venus. So, and Venus is conjunct the ascendant, so we have this very Venusian person. Venus is a female or feminine planet, so he can come across as a bit more refined. He's not going to come across like some, you know, rugged He-Man like Arnold Schwarzenegger or anything like that. And Libra is an air sign, so they're sociable. It's about communicating, relating, the mind. So being sociable, that urge to relate, being in partnership, being cooperative, peace-loving, enjoying balance and harmony, being the diplomat, the negotiator. Okay, and the sun is in the first house. The first house is our self-image and personality, where we express ourselves. The sun's about our identity. So what does he identify with? The sun being a powerful leader. Again, that authority, that will, that's what he identifies with. And this Venus here, in dignity, in the sign it rules, or co-rules, in Libra. Okay, so presenting a beautiful image. Venus is about beauty. We see he has a well-groomed appearance. Any planets in the first house demand expression, they're up front. Okay, so being graceful and charming. I would suggest this guy could really charm the birds out of the trees with that strong Venus. His values, his self-esteem, what he appreciates would be right up front. And also money, it co-rules his second house as well. So we can see that he's come from a family of wealth, because Venus also rules Taurus. The second house is the house of material resources. So all that is out there for the world to see. Okay, now I could go on with other things, but I thought I'd have a look at a couple of transits. Sorry, he's having a really big transit this year of Pluto to his sun. So all the cardinal signs, our Aries, Libra, Cancer and Capricorn, have been affected by the Uranus-Pluto square to some extent over the last 7 years. Okay, so Pluto's now reached the mid-degrees of Capricorn. It's currently at 17 degrees, and it'll be making a square, tense 90-degree aspect to David Cameron's sun this year in his fourth house. Now the fourth house is all about home, family. Maybe things will transform around 10 Downing Street. Real estate. It also rules countrymen and our country and being patriotic to our homeland. And for the most outer planet, Pluto, to be making a tense aspect to one of our inner planets, especially a light like the sun or the moon, there's going to be some sort of radical transformation of the self. The sun is our core self, identity, our will, our power. So Pluto, death, rebirth, transformation, radical change around our self-expression, the self, power, authority. Can be issues to do with the father and the father's death, and as we've seen, you know, issues have come up around, you know, this family issue. Okay, so those transits will be exact. One's already passed, the 12th of January. Pluto's about to go retrograde, appear to go backwards in the sky. These outer planets are retrograde about 5 months of the year. So the 9th of August and the 14th of November, it will be exactly squaring his sun again this year. So that's a pretty big transit. Okay, and we also have the Mars retrograde that's just about to occur, or tomorrow in Australia anyway. Okay, from the 18th of April to the 30th of June. So Mars starts off at 8 degrees Sagittarius in his third house, where assertion of ideas and expression, expressing our desires. When it goes retrograde, that's an internalising, a slowing down. He might need to review communications, review data, information, any unresolved issues around this Sagittarian stuff, knowledge, philosophies, global stuff, information, because Sagittarius rules travel. So I'd say those Panama Papers, they're global papers that need some sort of reviewing. And Mars is going to backtrack to about 23 degrees Scorpio. Scorpio is all about private stuff, control. Mars co-rules his 8th house of other people's resources, which includes taxes, inheritances. So going back into that house of material resources, so making corrections to financial situations, some sort of slowdown on the financial front, reviewing behaviour on the communication and financial fronts, and finding a new way to respond at Mars when the transit's over. And we also see that he has Neptune, which is a planet of illusion, can be deception, can be highly intuitive, in the 2nd house. So he can make maybe financial decisions based on his gut feel or what he intuits, but this Mars is going to go back and conjunct this within 3 degrees of this Neptune. So there can be, putting energy into maybe, I don't know, hiding or being deceptive about finances, or there has been deception in the past. And this Scorpio loading here would like to keep things a bit private about finances. And and Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio as well. So he's in for a pretty big year, I'd say. And so I just thought I'd have a bit of a look at some salient points in his chart and a couple of transits that are happening for him this year. So thank you again for watching and listening. And if you want to read more about me, you can see more on my website at theleftandraightbrain.com.au, and I'm also at the Mystic Hippie Gifts and Healing Shop at 375 High Street, Maitland, New South Wales, Australia, on Wednesdays and Thursdays for face-to-face readings, and Skype readings are also available. So thank you again, and I'll see you next time.